Last week, we were talking about Wyoming sports in relation to the person who was on Charles in Charge season one. And Greg said there was a minor league baseball team in the state of Wyoming. Going through maps really quickly, I mean, we don't spend a lot of time doing off the cuff research on this podcast, but in like my 2, 3 minute search, I couldn't find anything about any team in Wyoming that had a minor league baseball team. Dear friend of the podcast, Josh Henninger, then chimed in saying there is a minor league baseball team, an independent one in Wyoming, the Casper Spuds. So, what I would like to do at this time is first and foremost, Greg, I humbly apologize for doubting you.
I told you there was independent teams in Wyoming.
Well, again, my little quick research, my 2 minutes of research did not bring up anything.
Well,
And
it might have been affiliate ball only.
I think that was the reason why. I think I was looking at AAA teams, AA teams, single A teams, and Rookie League teams and stuff like that. I apologize for doubting you, but also I would like to apologize to everybody in the state of Wyoming. I will start with the famous people from Wyoming. Dick Cheney, I'm sorry. Liz Cheney, I'm sorry. And now I'm going to start going in alphabetical order. Frank Ames, please accept my apology. Anne Marie Aardsma, I'm sorry. Hank Aaron, no relation. Sorry, man. We could be here a while. Let's get to the open. An anthology on the bad, the short-lived and forgotten shows and events in television history. You are listening to It Was a Thing on TV.
Now, Shotty LaRue from my son's favorite show on CBS, which was just picked up again, Frank's Place.
Tim Zucker, sorry. Penelope Zumwalt, accept my apology, please. Pete Zielinski, thank you, man. I appreciate you forgiving me. Okay, there's everybody in the state of Wyoming. Let's get started with this episode, shall we? Episode 566, submission number 862, The Popcorn Kid. The Popcorn Kid aired on CBS from March 23rd of 1987 to April 24th of 1987 for 6 episodes. Enjoy the open. The theme itself, I think, is really good. But if you want like an authentic kick, look the open up on video. Go to YouTube or wherever. Watch the open. Oh my gosh, that's like one hell of a flashback.
All dressed up in a pretty pink bow. Oh, oh, looking so fine, head to toe. Don't you know? Everywhere that I look, oh yeah, on every page of my book, I'm dreaming of all that I can be. Knowing that you're always there for me. You know we're gonna dim the lights, hold on tight, and then, ooh, you know we're gonna find romance, sex and dance. We're gonna start the night again.
We are now officially in summer movie season. I'm going to defer to Greg on this because he knows movies a lot better than I do. Actually, I could defer to Chico too. He goes to movies a heck of a lot more often than I do. What big movies do we have coming up this summer? We obviously have Superman, the James Gunn movie. We also have a Fantastic Four movie, I believe.
Yes, this time Pedro Pascal is Mr. Fantastic.
And in early August, we've got The Naked Gun with Liam Neeson, which looks absolutely hilarious. What else do we have besides those 3 coming up this summer?
How to Train Your Dragon just came out this week.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
the live action.
I've seen the ads for the Burger King connection, whatever they're doing with that burger, but I forgot about that. Another How to Train Your Dragon movie. And actually, I should have remembered because Craig Ferguson does the ads for that Burger King ad.
And he did a voice in How to Train Your Dragon, the animated one. Also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Chico, the guy who created How to Train Your Dragon is also the creator of Lilo and Stitch.
which also came out earlier this summer.
So yeah, what a summer for that guy. His two big movies get live action adaptations.
Then you also have Megan 2.0.
Oh yes, Megan 2.0. What the world was dying for. I'm going to be quite honest. Companion did the AI robot thing a lot better.
So needless to say, we got a ton of movies coming up, either in theaters now or coming up in the next month to month and a half. Sort of as a tribute to this big cinematic season, we decided to look at this very short-lived show, The Popcorn Kid, about a teenager who's got dreams of being in the movies. And coincidentally, he works at a movie theater, the Majestic Theater in Kansas City. And actually, before the show, Greg and I were talking, and Greg said, what TV shows had been set in Kansas City? And I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, I thought I had like a name in my head and I just couldn't get it out. And then I did a little bit of research. There's two shows of note that took place in Kansas City. One of them was Malcolm and Eddie. And I think the other one was like The Last of Us.
One of them also, I think, was the season of Fargo with Chris Rock.
Season 4 of Fargo, yes, that was one that took place in Kansas City, according to our good friend Wikipedia. And yes, The Last of Us took place in Kansas City. But really, other than those shows, Fargo, The Last of Us, Malcolm and Eddie, Popcorn Kid, there's a couple of other very, very minor series, probably as minor as The Popcorn Kid. So this is sort of a rarity in terms of a show actually being set in Kansas City. As I said, the main character, Scott Kreisman, the Popcorn Kid, the title character, if you will, he works at the candy counter at this Majestic Theater in Kansas City. He's got big dreams about the movies. He wants to make it big one day. And actually, even in the first scene in the first episode, where is Scott hiding? He's in the projection booth watching whatever old movie they were showing. It wasn't a new movie. I forget if it was like Casablanca or Wizard of Oz or Gone with the Wind or just some generic 40 to 50-year-old movie at that point. But you can see he's more interested in the movies themselves than manning the snack bar. And so this series basically just revolves around him and the different adventures and hilarious situations that Scott and his coworkers go through. In terms of the cast, as I said, the main character, the Popcorn Kid, is played by Bruce Norris. No relation to Chuck Norris, and I was actually disappointed by that. Yes, I was legitimately hoping Bruce Norris is like Chuck Norris's kid.
You were hoping he was going to roundhouse kick somebody during this show?
Yes, I seriously was hoping, like, you know, the patron says, I want extra butter on the popcorn, and he just does a roundhouse kick and is like, no, you don't get extra butter. Besides this, Bruce Norris did not do much. He was on an episode of Kate and Allie. He was on a 1994 episode of The Untouchables, if you remember that reboot. He was in The Sixth Sense. He didn't see dead people, though. And he was on 2 episodes of Law & Order: Criminal Intent. But besides that, hasn't really done much, even though he was in something called The Friend just last year, playing his boss, Leonard Brown, who is the persnickety manager of the Majestic Theater. He's a very micromanaging type of boss. People that work with him don't like him. But we like him because Leonard Brown is played by Ray Burke. And we've talked about Ray Burke so many times. Isn't he a Hall of Famer at this point?
I don't think he is.
But he's on the cusp. Because I know we've talked about him plenty. And I remember specifically that every time we talk about him, we talk about how he played Pap Schmear in the Naked Gun movies.
Oh, yes, he did. That was Pap Schmear.
Yeah, we mentioned his name a couple of times, and every time we mention Ray Burke, I mention that he was Pap Schmear. And I have to mention this in the OG Naked Gun movies, since, as I mentioned earlier, August 1st, we got the new Naked Gun movie coming out. Wouldn't it be great if he appeared as Pap Schmear in the new movie, sort of like how the upcoming Spaceballs reboot is bringing back like everybody who was on the original movie?
I hope they get Tim Russ to come back to say, we ain't found. Yeah.
Well, I mentioned to you guys earlier this week, I really hope they get George Weiner to return as Colonel Sanders.
Well, if not, they could get somebody to play son of Colonel Sanders.
Okay, that would be hilarious if it was somebody like named Raising Cane's or something. Yes, a chicken franchise. Well, think about it. I think it would be just like beautiful synergy. You have this new character who is chicken related. Maybe make him like the adopted son of Colonel Sanders. Yeah, call him Canes or Raising Canes, but call it CAIN apostrophe S. I think it would be absolutely hilarious. Plus, also, now you know where my chicken loving lies. KFC, no. Their biscuits are just wet plaster of Paris. Horrible. Give me Canes every day. And actually, that's what I usually do on recording nights, a little behind the scenes here. I usually go to Raising Cane's on the way home from work to get dinner. But since I'm a teacher and it's summer, I didn't get Raising Cane's last Friday night. And tonight, didn't get Raising Cane's. Instead, I made chicken taco bowls.
I got an update on my fast food journeys.
Oh, okay.
They opened a Five Guys like less than 5 miles from my house.
Oh man, Five Guys is the thing, man. Unless you have a peanut allergy, then I'd stay well back. But Five Guys they do some really good stuff there. Mike disagrees. Okay.
It's not because it's bad food. It's because it's so freaking expensive. I went to Five Guys in the last year, maybe like 9 months ago, and for a burger and fries, it cost me like over $20. That's ridiculous.
But they take the time at Five Guys with your burger to make sure it's accurately right. So as far as I'm concerned, it's worth it.
Well, yeah, they could take their time because when I went into the restaurant, I was the only person there. So yeah, they could take all of their time trying to make my burger like absolutely impeccable because there's nobody else in line. Don't go there if you got peanut allergy. Don't say we didn't warn you. But getting back to Ray Burke, we have talked about him, again, at least like 3 times in the past because every time we talk about him, I mention Pap Schmear. Just taking a cursory little look at IMDb, we talked about him on Blue Thunder. We talked about him on JJ Starbuck. We talked about him on Marblehead Manor. Eisenhower and Lutz, we talked about him. Needless to say, I mean, that's 5 right there between shows that we've covered plus The Popcorn Kid. Not putting him in the Hall of Fame, but I'm just saying he's a 5-timer. Now let's get into the co-workers who work with Scott Kreisman. First is Willie Dawson. He is like the star athlete I think he's in college at this point. I don't think he's in high school.
They're all in the same high school, bro.
This was high school. These people were in their like mid-20s. They're playing high schoolers. Hollywood is just one giant charade. So Willie Dawson was a high school football star, and he works as an usher at the Majestic. And also, at least in the pilot episode, he was working behind the scenes of the snack bar. He's played by Jeffrey Joseph. He was in TV series A Million Little Things. 3 episodes as Dr. Heller.
Chico loves that show, doesn't he?
I do. I love it.
But besides that, he's done a little bit of everything. He was on 14 episodes of Dream On. Remember, that was like the big series in like 1990. Everybody couldn't get enough Brian Benben.
Remember when everyone in America was gaga for Brian Benben?
They loved their Dream On for some reason. Next, playing Gwen Stottlemyre. Again, another student at the high school. who ushers at the Majestic Theater, and she comes across as a little bit of a biznatch, if you will. But she's a loyal friend to Scott. So she's a bitch with a heart of gold. Played by Penelope Ann Miller. Greg, I'll let you get yours out of the way, and then I'll do mine after you do it.
Well, this would be the same year she was in one of my all-time favorite movies, Adventures in Babysitting.
And then for me, I became absolutely smitten with her when she played the teacher in Kindergarten Cop. Went to go see that with my parents back in 1990, and probably my sister as well. And I saw Penelope Ann Miller, and 15-year-old me is like, holy crap, you are the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen in my life. And she was gorgeous and absolutely great in that movie. Alas, she didn't have a tumor.
Hold on a second. I just looked up something. DeepDiscount.com has the 4K from Kino Lorber of that movie at $20.11.
I just might buy that movie. Have all the Penelope Ann Miller I want right there.
Of course, I will say with Adventures in Babysitting, who could ever forget that scene with her in the bus stop with that palm? Get out of my house!
In addition to a lengthy career, she played Molly Hooper in A Minute with Stan Hooper. That might be a show we need to cover one day. A Minute with Stan Hooper.
Is that the Norm Macdonald show?
That's exactly what it is. I thought it did a little better than just running one season, but alas, it only ran one season and 13 episodes. I did not think it was that bad. But also another reason maybe to talk about it, to tie it in with the Popcorn Kid, is one of the creators of A Minute with Stan Hooper, along with Norm Macdonald, is Barry Kemp. And Barry Kemp is one of the two co-creators of the Popcorn Kid. The place you may remember his name, there's two big series that Barry Kemp did. One is he created and wrote many episodes of Coach, but also if you go back a little bit, and this would have been probably coinciding with the Popcorn Kid, he created and wrote most of the Newhart episodes. Literally two absolute classic TV series from 1980s for one of them and 1990s for the other. And I should add, beyond Barry Kemp, the other co-creator of this series is Mark Ganzel. You hear the last name and you probably say, hey, is he related to Teresa Ganzel? He is her brother.
Whoa. Whoa.
You okay there, Joey Lawrence?
Whoa.
I know. I'm saying, are you okay there, Joey Lawrence?
Whoa.
No, stop doing that. It's a yes or no question. Is this going to be another Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. In terms of, are you okay, Joey Lawrence? Okay, I thought the trigger was saying Joey Lawrence. Okay, good. Regarding Mark Ganzel, besides being the brother of Teresa Ganzel, he's probably best known for Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. Also, he was a producer on Coach, but also Herman's Head. All right, getting back to the cast now that we've gotten the co-creators out of the way. The projectionist at the theater is a gentleman named Marlon Bond. I could just see him introducing himself. Bond. Marlon Bond. He's played by John Christopher Jones. He's another one who's had a lengthy career, but really, outside of this, he never had anything run more than a few episodes. Popcorn Kid, 21 episodes of On Our Own back in 1977 and 78, but really that's it. Just going through his IMDb, one episode here, one episode there, was in some movies. The biggest of which I would say is probably Moonstruck, which would have been 1987, same year as The Popcorn Kid. And then the last main character we're going to talk about, and I think we've really saved the best for last. we have Lynn Holly Brickhouse. And to put it nicely, she's your stereotypical blonde airhead. And because they're in high school, if she's a stereotypical blonde airhead, she's a cheerleader.
Now, I should mention in the first episode, she only gets the job because she figured, oh, this theater's going to be closed soon. Because that was the whole thing in the first episode. Like, the theater was going to be shut down and torn down.
I sort of made the connection or assumption that ditzy blonde airheads in high school equals cheerleaders. I apologize if you were a ditzy blonde in high school and you weren't a cheerleader, but just based on my experience in high school, the really cute cheerleaders were the ditzy blonde airheads. I got stories from when I was in marching band back in 1988. I'm not going to share them with you, but oh my gosh, I loved a certain ditzy blonde cheerleader back in the day. But enough about that. So this ditzy blonde cheerleader was played by Faith Ford. Give her a year and a half, and she'll be Corky Sherwood on Murphy Brown, and that'll be basically the big role of her career. Who doesn't like Corky Sherwood? She was so adorable.
Now, hold on a second. Because I think she has a signed card in the Family Guy Inkworks set. Remember when they did that whole Murphy Brown parody on Family Guy in like the second or third season?
Oh, I think I know what we're going to have to put in here now. Blah, 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 the Ayatollah.
Hey, Murphy. Blah, 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 John Sununu.
Murphy. Blah, 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 Tipper Gore.
Hey, Murph, you can't blah, 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 the Ayatollah.
Blah, 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 Bishop Desmond Tutu. Blah, blah.
And actually, taking a look, yes, she does have a card in the Family Guy Season 2 card set. And actually, the price, it's first off on card, but second, the prices aren't that bad. $9.99, buy it now. Oh, I'm going to buy this right now. Seriously, not even joking. For $10, as somebody on this podcast would say, I've spent more money on less. And also, I like, it's not Corky as her character on this Murphy Brown spoof. It's voice of Quirky.
As if there was somebody else who played the role.
Right, but I just like that even the parody had a parody name. She wasn't called Corky, she was called Quirky. Oh my gosh. And I have just purchased the card on eBay for $12.03. I'm not going to get it till June 28th to July 5th. What the heck?
Maybe the seller's out of town.
Well, stay tuned for that in the next 2 weeks to see if I get it, I guess. Not if I get it, but when I get it. I should have probably checked to see where the seller's located. Watch, it's like Abu Dhabi. No, Apache Junction, Arizona.
Oh, that's not far.
Well, I mean, it's not China and it's not, the UK. So if this person actually like puts it in the mail tomorrow or even Monday, you'd think it would get here by next Friday because it doesn't take 4 days to get across the country. Unless he went really cheap because the shipping was only like $1.25. But whatever. Faith Ford autograph card is on its way. Well, that was fun. I just spent money in this podcast.
You would have bought it anyway, Mike.
No, I seriously probably would have because it just like intrigues me. Plus, also, it is Family Guy, and again, it's a spoof that Greg and I and you remember quite well. It's just weird in the middle of a podcast. Hey, let's buy this. And I haven't bought any cards in a long time. I haven't been to the card shop in like a month and a half, not even joking, almost 2 months. They probably think I'm dead again. Probably wondering, did Mike go back in the hospital? Is he losing his other leg? Not even joking. That was a conversation at the card shop. After I was hospitalized, I didn't go to the card shop for 6 months because it was in the middle of COVID and because obviously I had mobility issues, didn't have my prosthetic. So the owner, who I've known for 30 years at this point, he said, "I thought you died." It's like, well, if you want to hear about my tale of my prosthetic leg, I almost did. But no, this is the first card that I bought since I got the George Wendt card right after he died about a month ago or so. But enough about that. So those are our main characters in the Popcorn Kid. Let's see what's going on in the movie theater besides sewing flicks and flinging some popcorn. Episode 1 is the pilot. Scott is elated when Lynn Holly gets a job at the Majestic, but he's devastated to learn that the owner plans to renovate the theater and turn it into a multiplex. Well, that would have been the big thing in 1987. You didn't have many one-screen theaters. You had the 6, 8, 10, 12 screen theaters. So he was just trying to stay contemporary with the times. But also, I know even back in the early 90s or late 80s, I know I went to go see at least one movie, Dragnet, in a theater that was a one-screen theater. Classic theater hasn't been around for 30 years at this point, but it was definitely a flashback to olden times.
You know how I grew up on army bases. We'd have the theater right next to the PX, one screen, 2 showtimes. It showed 2 different movies in each showtime. First movie I ever saw in one of those army post theaters was Willow back in 1988. Granted, it was like 4 or 5 months old, but go ahead, Greg.
Hold on a second. Do you remember the Magic Rock episode of Unsolved Mysteries? Do you remember the guy ran a movie theater and made so much money he attributed it to the Magic Rock?
Yes.
We've talked about this in the past, I do believe.
Yes.
Yeah, because we did an episode on the WTF stories from Unsolved Mysteries, I do believe.
I need to put that as the best of, but it was worth it just for the Magic Rock because that is like one of my favorite segments of all time. They see a Magic Rock and it makes them rich. And I'm like, where is this Magic Rock? We have to find this Magic Rock.
We actually have a name in this episode of sorts, no character name given, but Ken Sansom is in this episode. The only reason I bring him up is for a long time, he was the voice of Rabbit in the Winnie the Pooh franchise. I mean, Rabbit wasn't my favorite character, don't get me wrong, but still, he did so much Winnie the Pooh stuff. Looks like starting in the late 80s and going clear into the 2000s, 2009 even. So he's probably your Rabbit of your childhood. Done other voiceover work as well. My Little Pony, Alvin and the Chipmunks, specifically 86 to 87, so that would be 4th season of Alvin and the Chipmunks. Not that I think that matters a whole hell of a lot. The Transformers back in the early to mid 80s, 84, 85.
Which one was he? Or do you know?
Hound?
Oh, man. Okay.
I'm not a big Transformers fan, so what's the big deal with Hound?
Hound was like this sort of Hondo sounding Autobot. He was just sort of like the now late great Gaylord Sartain would be if he was a motorized car robot.
Okay, then. But before getting into voice acting, specifically Rabbit, he was on a number of TV shows talking live action. He was Dr. Hunter on The Littles. Not that I was a big Littles fan as a kid, but growing up with a sister who really enjoyed that TV show, yeah, I think I recognize the voice and character and all that. Moving on to episode 2, and I know people are going to have stuff to say about this episode. There she is, Vic Damone. Lynn Holly gets help from Scott to prepare for the Dream Queen pageant. Greg, the floor is yours.
Okay, so Lynn Holly shows him her talent. And shocker, because she's a cheerleader, she's going to perform a cheerleader version of a song. So I'm just going to share the clip for you. So we're going to remain silent and listen to this, okay?
Okay, I'm gonna do my way.
Huh?
And now the end is near, and so I'll face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case of good and certain. I've lived a life that's full and traveled each and every highway, and much more than this I did in my way.
No, audience, don't applaud. Why are you applauding? It was terrible.
She's only going to do more of that.
So they realize she has no talent whatsoever. So what do? They make her lips. What's the song they make her lip sync, Chico?
It was People from Funny Girl. The idea was to do the Barbara Streisand version of People, complete with light pole. Because, that scene in Funny Girl where Barbara Streisand sings People and absolutely owns that scene. They could not find that proper tape, though, but it's okay because Marlon has a copy of People. It is not Barbara Streisand singing it, though.
Okay, who's singing it?
Victim Own.
Oh, that's where we get the episode title then. We have a name on this episode if there's nothing else to add. I don't know if Greg and Chico are done talking about People and Victim Own and Faith Ford in a talent show. We have a character with no name, sadly, played by Catherine Maisnick. Again, this is one of those, I'm mentioning her for one reason and one reason only. Last night, I found a video on YouTube, sort of like a promotional video of TV shows that were going to be on ABC in 1982. Some new shows, primarily older shows, Your Happy Days and Fantasy Island, and Laverne and Shirley's, all that stuff. But they showed some previews of new shows. And one of the new shows for 1982 on ABC was something called Star of the Family. The main character, the star of the family, was played by Kathy Maisnick. It was on for 10 episodes in 1982. And her father, and I think this is great casting, and from what I've read, Kathy Maisnick and this person made the show. Everything else was very bland and generic, and it only ran for 10 episodes. But her father on this series was played by Brian Dennehy. So that's my takeaway. Under normal circumstances, I would just skip Kathy Maisnick. But coincidentally, last night I saw this ABC promotional video from 1982, and there she is, the star of the family.
She was actually on an episode of Shark Tank with her sister pushing her father's amazing tape. And do you know who bought into that?
Don't say cubes.
Okay.
Did he really?
Mark Cuban and Lori Grainer both bought into it.
Of course, Lori buys everything. At least it wasn't Kevin O'Leary.
He buys nothing.
And he's not wonderful. Don't call yourself Mr. Wonderful.
No, the only Mr. Wonderful in this world is Paul Orndorff, and he's dead.
I knew you were going to say Paul Orndorff. I don't know why I knew that, but I knew you were going to chime in with the only Mr. Wonderful I acknowledge is Paul Orndorff, which is not the wrong answer. I just totally expected that from you. By the way, catch Squared Circle Time Machine right here on the It Was a Thing on TV podcast network. Hey, we haven't promoted any of the new things, either Squared Circle Time Machine or the upcoming project, but there you go. There's your free mention for the month, Greg.
Well, let me just hype this up. And I've mentioned this to you. I'm only going to be with my schedule in the summer. I'm only going to be recording 2 shows with Dane. One is going to be the day after we record this episode. The other one's going to be in July, and we have somebody lined up. It's somebody who follows us on the feed, and you two don't know who it is.
Episode 3 is titled Career Day. Scott's father wants him to attend Career Day and give up his dreams of show business. Way to support your son, Dad. Playing Scott's father in this episode, Burl Kreisman, is James Staley. Not a big name, but given I've seen stuff about this movie over the last couple of days, I figured it's worth mentioning his name. He played a motel desk clerk in National Lampoon's Vacation.
Is he the desk clerk where Clark steals all the money?
Honestly, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if the answer to that is yes. Well, how many motel desk clerks were there in National Lampoon's Vacation? Couldn't have been many.
Bizarre Whammy heard something about a talent show. No, Bizarre Whammy. That was 1 episode ago. And we are not holding a talent show. But me wanted to sing a song. You want to sing a song, Bizarre Whammy? Yes. Okay, what do you want to sing? I'm going to sing the Different Strokes theme song by Alan Thicke. Oh, I'm sure Alan's going to be very proud to hear this, okay? Are you ready, Bizarre Whammy? You ready? I'm ready. Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some. A man is gold, he's a man of beats. But love of Jesus, they got different strokes, they got different strokes, they got different strokes through the world. Everybody's got a special kind of story. Everybody's got a man to shine. It don't matter that you got not a lot. Know what? They're out there as you'll have mine. And together we'll be fine. We got different strokes, we get different strokes and take different strokes through the world.
That reminds me, stay the hell away from that bike shop.
Why? What's in the bike shop?
No,
No!
no.
Bizarre Whammy, you do not want to know what the hell Gordon Jump has in that bike shop. Turkeys? No. It's not turkeys. Now please leave Bizarre Whammy. Okay.
Is Bizarre Whammy still there? Okay, he's not. I
He's
did want
here.
to. Okay, hey, Bizarre Whammy, I wanted to ask you, what era of Different Strokes were you actually doing there? Were you doing the Charlotte Rae era? Were you doing the Mary Jo Catlett era? Were you doing the Dixie Carter era? Marianne Mobley? Nedra Voles? Just can't, leave us hanging. What version of the theme song was that?
Oh, obviously my favorite era and the one everybody loves, the ABC era.
Oh, gosh.
Bizarre Whammy, get the hell off the stage.
Get the hell off my stage!
Okay, so I think you just admitted it's the Marianne Mobley era. That also means the Danny Cooksey era. Good job there, Whammy.
You know that Bobby Budnick is now a grandpa? And now that really has me confused. Bobby Budnick is now a grandpa.
Well, all of us who are in our late 40s and early 50s, Bill, if we've had relationships, we would be grandparents now. Me, I'm parent to Benoodles, and that's more than enough. I can barely take care of myself. Episode 4 is titled The Breakup. Scott gets dragged into the middle when Lynn Holly's old boyfriend takes a military leave to find out why she hasn't contacted him. Meanwhile, Gwen encourages Mr. Brown to do something meaningful for his anniversary. And we do have a name in this episode. Playing Leo Davenport. This is a name that we talked about not all that long ago. Lou Jeter, currently known as a producer of shows including The Closer and Major Crimes, but where we talked about him, he played Dwayne Spittler on Eisenhower and Lutz. And also, since Chico brought it up in that episode, the kind of sort of follow-up, FM, he played J. Edgar. I know this next episode, we got things to talk about. Episode 5 is titled A Day in the Life of Ed Asner. Marlin arranges an Ed Asner film festival, which is threatened by a tornado. And believe it or not, guess who guest stars as himself on this episode? I heard Ed Asner. Correct.
Wow, what an amazing coincidence. Ed Asner is playing himself.
He's not the gruff little sourpuss that he plays on television. He's a big old teddy bear that he also plays on television.
Now, hold on. There is a reason for this, because who produced this show, Mike?
MTM produced this show. And think about what MTM did with Ed Asner, specifically the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And I'm guessing they did Lou Grant too, even though I don't really associate MTM with dramas.
Seen Elsewhere was a drama.
Yeah, Seen Elsewhere.
Bay City Blues.
Bay City Blues is crap, not a drama.
Now, hold on a second. I will say this. They're doing an Ed Asner Film Festival. I hope they're showing the 1974 movie The Wrestler starring Ed Asner.
Wouldn't that be too new for the crowd of the Majestic?
Yeah, probably.
James Staley also returns in this episode as Beryl Kreisman, Scott's dad. That's going to take us to the final episode, which is titled A Car, a House, a Mouse, and a Louse. The movie theater is held up by a mugger.
I got a question. Why would, if you're a mugger trying to rob somebody, why would you rob a movie theater? You could rob a bank. You could rob a convenience store. Why a movie theater?
Big crowds, easy to get in and out. With so many people there, probably hard to tell somebody in a crowd like that. It's not necessarily all about the money. It's also about how easy the in and out job is. So yeah, it's not like a bank where they have thousands of dollars. What is he going to get from a movie theater? Probably a few $100s and maybe like a 64-ounce thing of like Coke and a super large popcorn. Also, any money is good money. Well, I shouldn't say good money, in terms of being stolen, but money's money. And now I hear everybody listening to this podcast go into some sort of database to make sure that I haven't done any sort of robberies in my lifetime. Mike knows a little too much about that.
Playing the robber, Kevin Scannell. He was in Angie, Here's Boomer, Harper Valley PTA, Best of the West, Oh Madeline, and Get a Life.
That is 6 episodes, and that is this series. I think we can ask the obvious question, what happened? And taking a look at the listings and the ratings, I think we have a pretty clear picture as to what happened. We'll start with the ratings. Thanks to TV Tango, we see that the first episode had a 12.9 rating. And then it went downhill from there. Episode 2 had a 10.8. Episode 3 went up to an 11.2, but then episode 4 back down to an 11, then down to 9, and then the final episode was an 8.4. And actually, in my research for this episode, since I do the occasional research when I feel like it, I found a little blurb saying that the word at CBS was that if the Popcorn Kid managed a 20 share for its final broadcast, the series could be a contender for the fall schedule of 1987. And as I mentioned to Greg and Chico before the show, I laughed at that because A, it was not going to get anywhere near a 20 share, but also B, if nowadays it had a 20 share, not only would it be 6 seasons in a movie, it would be 16 seasons and a movie franchise. So the ratings just tumbled, and I think Chico mentioned it earlier. This aired on Fridays, at least after the pilot. And where are most people on Friday nights? Maybe not in March and April of 1987 necessarily. They're at the movies. The pilot episode aired on Monday, March 23rd, and it had a pretty plumb time slot. 8:30, just after Kate and Allie, before Newhart, and then you had Designing Women and Cagney and Lacey, so that's a pretty stacked lineup on CBS. It went up against Valerie. This would be like first season because it's just called Valerie. It's not Valerie's Family or the Hogan Family. It's called Valerie. On ABC, though, it went up against the second half hour of MacGyver. But again, it had the highest ratings of the series in that pilot episode. Probably spurred on by being between Kate and Allie and Newhart. But then it got moved to Friday nights for its regular time slot. And again, it aired at 8:30 on Friday nights. I don't know if necessarily you're going to be either of these shows. Maybe you might. You might be both these shows, maybe one of these shows. On NBC was Amazing Stories. And this would have been final season of Amazing Stories. I think it only ran 2 seasons. But on ABC, it went up against Webster. I think maybe you're beating Amazing Stories, potentially. Webster, I don't know.
Well, wouldn't this be the final season of Webster before they went to first run syndication?
But yeah, I was going to say that because it did end up in syndication and lasted till 88. I definitely assume that this is the last run on ABC for Webster. Plus also, as I told Chico and Greg earlier, just taking a look at the 8 o'clock shows. Ooh, my. Nothing good happened until 9 o'clock on either of these networks. 8:30 had Amazing Stories on NBC, Webster on ABC, Popcorn Kid on CBS. 8 o'clock on NBC, you had Roomies. They're no class holes. And ABC, you had The Charmings. And on CBS, you had Nothing is Easy. You had 3 stinkers at 8 o'clock. I'm sorry if I offended anybody in any way by saying Roomies is a stinker, but it is what it is. And The Charmings is definitely a stinker. I've shared my hatred of that series. Good heavens, that was one of the worst shows of all time, in my opinion.
Well, that wraps up this show. I mean, I gotta say, I quite enjoyed this show. And oh, I know who's calling. Alan. Okay. Look, Alan, we know the Bizarro Whammy did a terrible impression, okay? Why are you calling us? Hello? Is there anybody there?
Please insert a quarter to continue phone call.
Oh, I don't know what. I'm just going to hang up. I can't believe that somebody would hang up on us. Why is he calling us again? Okay, Alan, we get it. All right, Alan, what are you bitching about?
If Alan's calling to ask us about our car insurance or he wants to buy our property, I'm going to be really pissed.
I'm still on the phone. Who is speaking to us?
The devil told me to do a job to him, and I told him that doesn't work for me, brother.
Oh, God damn it, Hulkster. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be resting. Why are you calling us?
You know they got phones in hospitals, Greg.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I can call anybody I want. I can call my buddy
Mr. Black.
I can call my buddy Stephen Miller. I can call my buddies that are doing my Real American Wrestling crap that hasn't sold any seats in Cleveland.
Now, hold on, time out. You know we're going to have to put Black in there.
Did I say, what's his name? I meant Mr. Black. Black like my heart.
We already dubbed it in, Hulkster. You don't even have to correct it.
So yeah, I was in the hospital. I've been working too hard. All these 400 days a year of working, they take a toll on a man.
400 days? You haven't wrestled a match in like 15 years.
I'm pitching my beer and I'm pitching my wrestling.
The Izzy style wrestling?
I almost feel like doing Tom and Jerry now. Izzy is or Izzy ain't my baby. When Tom serenades Toodles the cat.
Look, get some rest and leave us the f*** alone, Hulkster. Get off the phone.
Before you hang up on me, can I do an impression for you?
Mike, do you think we should do this?
Absolutely. This is my impersonation of Macho Man Randy Savage impersonating Fred Sanford. Miss Elizabeth, it's the big one. I'm coming to join you.
Boo!
Get off the stage, you suck!
I'm not getting off the stage. I'm going to be like Faith Ford when she was at that talent show.
She sucked too!
Well, I get that. All right, hang up on me now.
Greg, don't give out our number anymore.
I don't know how he found our number.
Anyway, the entire run of The Popcorn Kid is available on YouTube.
Well, what can we say about the Popcorn Kid? It was a mid-season replacement in 1987. There was actually a sliver of hope that it might have made the 1987 fall schedule, even though really after seeing the tumbling ratings, it didn't have a chance. And because it didn't have a chance at surviving, that's why it became a thing on TV. You can find us at our website, itwasathingontv.com, on Facebook at It Was a Thing on TV podcast, and elsewhere at It Was a Thing on TV. You can find us on any podcast player, and we're also on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with our releases, including what's coming up next time.
We caught a movie in Kansas City. Now we're going to catch the news in Boston with somebody who is actually an anchor somewhere and somebody who just played one on TV.
And you know what we're going to bring back for this episode? Oh! Oh! Oh!
You're passing a kidney stone right now? Or are you constipated? Sure, both of them.
He's passing a kidney stone. I'm constipated.
And I'm Mike, and this has been It Was a Thing on TV.
Thank you ever so much for listening. Please be kind to one another, and we will see you for the next one.
Wow!
And I am a 9-layer bean burrito.
Oh. Well, that's neat.
It's the end of the movie and it's getting late. I know that you didn't come here with a date. You'll probably go home and masturbate. You're pathetic and lonely and you can't afford high definition television cause your job doesn't pay enough.
I never thought in the history of this podcast we'd ever actually reference Aqua Teen Hunger Force : the movie.
No, it's Aqua Teen Hunger Force : movie film for theaters.
Whatever. I just know you say the colon part.